All right, so I hope you are hearing me. Let me just check quickly if the sound is okay. It seems the sound is okay. Perfect. So my name is Haider. I'm the GP at Allegory Capital, and I'm with you again for a new office hour today in sunny Switzerland. So for once, it's not every day we can say that. So we've been doing this for quite some weeks now. I had a couple of items that popped up in our list of questions. One is HR related in terms of what can be the careers to explore in the investment world. Right? So some people are asking because it's a season for that, so we can come back on that quickly. Also, I went to a pharma conference in Croatia a few days ago. I wanted to come back on this because there were a lot of interesting talk again about the future of digital health. I also wanted to talk about other industries that we start to be investigating, which is the opening of the cannabis market from tier 1 to tier 3, which is opening a whole new world of medical and recreational businesses in the US. So this is something we're very eager to come back to as well, because it's a new market that will come to Europe at some point in time. And last but not the least, coming back on the trends from an industry perspective on fintech, some people are noticing I would say, a crowded market there. So after the bull run from the last few weeks, right, where we heard Bitcoin revamping health, this is now also what's next in the fintech world. So we can talk about it. So let's come back on the careers, right? So this is something, if you are like someone working in economics, in finance, and you are looking into working with emerging startups, emerging technologies, yes, indeed, venture capital could be something interesting. I would say there is a big difference between doing the ecosystem orchestration, where you will be in touch with startups and animating competitions. And this is how we discussed last week with the FemTech Lab with Tatiana. I think it was an interesting conversation there. I would say if you don't like crunching numbers and if you don't like being organized, putting documents and reading a lot and that kind of things, then you are potentially more onto the marketing / animation of community perspective than really crunching data in the data rooms. I would say some interns that I can see pushing some CVs, right, are telling kind of the same. They're excited about the ecosystem, but when it comes to the day-to-day job, be also ready that some of the days are not always fun because it's a lot of data to structure. So just to manage expectations. If you want at least to send us, your details, we can give you any feedback in terms of the real experience you will have day to day. I can describe what is a perfect week. So usually we will have like startups sending us on one side their details. We will analyze those details, put that into a room, dissect that according to some criteria, and then we will analyze the industry, if they are fitting some industry trends, if they are positioned in terms of the market fit with their products or their roadmap. Also, we are going to look into the financials. So most of the time, this is where there are not so much financials to run. So this is a bit complicated. So this is where we want to be also accurate in terms of having precise data. So sometimes it's a lot of follow-up to get the right appropriate information. And last but not the least, we need to, when we decide to prepare an investment round, we need to identify the valuation of the company, which means also forward-looking on where can we land with a seed or Series A round. And this requires a lot of conversation with the team. And sometimes you will see that because those teams are also young, and it's not a question of maturity, but young nature of the teams, you have a lot to follow up on. So exciting times. In Europe, definitely there is a positive thing is we have a lot of good qualitative startups on this side of the fence. From an investor perspective or limited partnership perspective, if you like more to manage the relationship with investors, family offices, and that kind of thing, then I would say this is pretty much crowded. So if you don't have a network yourself, and if you want to manage an existing portfolio of LPs, that is usually not something we give to internal juniors. So don't expect even shadowing some conversation. Sometimes it's very, very tricky to get more than one or two people in strategic conversations. So yeah, so that's for this side of the questions that we receive. On the second aspect, so we've been to this pharma conference just to take the pulse on the industry, and I think the pharma is at an interesting time right now because it's shifting. But would we say for the right reason? I don't know. But there is a lot of appetite to test and trial some magical AI bullet somewhere to see what pops up. Like usual, this is a type of industry that can afford to test, which is not everyone, which is not a good thing all the time because it means there is a lot of things in the system and a lot of pilots or proof of concept or MVPs are just not scalable. So we were discussing about digital health and what is it that makes this part of the ecosystem of innovation interesting when it comes to AI with focus on internal needs. So what can this do for medical affairs? So literally the doctors, if people are not aware of who are the medical affairs teams within pharma company, who are creating the scientific material that is basically making the pharma company look good from a science perspective when they communicate around the molecules. And this is where AI could actually help a lot because a lot of those people working in medical fields are usually, bioengineer, you have doctors, you potentially have nurses. So these people are usually highly educated. And because of the nature of the data platforms that we have to use in pharma, they do a lot of those tiny tasks that are super, super time consuming. And this is where AI could potentially help. Yeah. So this was that. By the way, I also go tomorrow to a conference in Zurich about GenAI. So I'm going to give my 2 cents from what we see from an investment perspective. And if you're in Zurich and if you have still some willingness to come to a conference, it's at the Technopark in Zurich tomorrow. So without giving too much on that, so it's true that right now we've been quite submerged by a lot of conversation around AI. And people gave me the feedback that why am I not jumping on this psyched? And I'm just trying to be cold-headed, right? So usually I'm not over-excited or over against something, right? So just to give you my perspective, it's always to be cold in how do we impact the business. So I always ask myself, don't follow the light without understanding where we are going, right? So we want just to understand that this is a business horizon that is either bringing visibility, growth impact, capturing some value, capturing market share. That kind of thing is always going to stay true. So I'm not saying I'm not excited about the technology. I think the tech is great. Tech is actually bringing a lot of interesting value to different businesses. I would just always ask myself for what is the purpose, who is going to gain on this, and what are the risks to manage on any piece of technology. So I don't like to talk about solution and tech in general. I'd like to put it more on the second field as a support or leverage to a business problem, if that makes sense. So I always did that. And if it's funny, every time that people, for example, when 2 years ago we were discussing about metaverse a lot, people were telling me, "Why don't you jump on the metaverse? It's so great." and it creates so much opportunities for training and for pain management. And I agree with this. Right? There are some really good cases, and I've been playing with VR headset in some contexts that were a very good experience. But most of the time, the business case was not about the VR. It was just a medium to transmit something that had value within it. So the experience was great because the content was great, and the channel, which is here virtual reality, was putting like the cherry on the cake on an experience that was already great. You see, if I look at training, one of the training example I remember is having sales rep that can do simulations based on some different answers, and they could see the non-verbal reaction of doctors in the headsets compared on how they choose to place themselves, how they choose to look around, and I think that was interesting. But it was because it was thought that way and it was adopted that way. Right? So when I see some, I would say, gimmicks, like looking like games and saying, "Oh, look, the technology is great. Look what we can do," and I'm like just playing with the tech. I'm not getting something out of it. I'm a little bit puzzled. Same with blockchain. A lot of people said, blockchain in pharma is great. Tracing, you can now have the drug that has been produced ex factory in this place can be discovered to be used out of the box in that country. Great. I'm not saying it's not good, but what the added value, right? So from a consumer perspective, do we have a technology on the phone that can easily, from a QR code, tell this is a legit product. So where do we put that QR code? Who is in charge of putting the QR code? You see, so it's more than just a blockchain is a layer of tech that is interesting, but it is something that is serving another purpose. And it means that we need to never isolate technologies like that and just be, how can I say, like, I would call it like attracted, blindly to technology without understanding the limits and the opportunities of it. So that's why today GenAI is showing some promising results when you have the right data, when you have the right company, the right maturity, the right structured and unstructured data protocols. Yeah, I would say right now the added value is it goes fast. I'm not saying yet. I'm going to potentially bring a company startup in France called Desk. They have an AI and LLM around, voice bots and that kind of things. I'm interested to see if those voice bots can truly adapt to any type of answer and really be smart. Right now, what I've been amazed by is the quickness of those LLMs. So it means something that would have taken a lot of queries, a lot of work to true, you have something that can do it really, really fast and connect the dots really, really fast. Now, will those LLMs are tested could be smarter? They are smarter than 2 years ago for sure. The accuracy and the precision and the exhaustivity of it, I would say it's not there yet. We will lie if you can say that AI is diagnosing someone better than 200 and 500 or 800 years of doctors accumulating knowledge. I would still say we have some work to do, and it's normal, and it's that's why the fuel is the data. So yeah, so interesting to have the conversation. I always say, conversation is better than ignorance. So let's discuss about this. If you have examples of cases where you think it's really, really like mind blowing, yeah. The only example I keep giving is self-driving cars. So for me, it's like something you can see, touch, live. It's something very tangible. So I would say that is one that I can picture on saying we have a 10x experience that is better than. Moving on. Right now, when it comes to the industry specificities, so digital health, we talked about it. There've been a slowdown. There have been a lot of pressure on teams to deliver more clinical evidence. There is a shift towards the science more than the consumer side, and this is interesting to see because it's slowing down some of the rounds because the data takes more time and more money to bring. So I see this shift also in terms of the type of investors that goes into digital health that are, I would say, more classical and less attracted to the consumer health play, if that makes sense. So there are still some brands that are like active and some companies that are active in the, let's say, lightweight side of digital health. They are also facing here some pressure because a lot of companies are coming, not in digital health, but digital health is starting to become also, when you look at mental health, coaching, that kind of thing, it's the limits of digital health are getting blurred when you start getting outside of the biometric data and you start going into the behavioral data. And there is a lot of companies in nutrition, life, insurances, wellness, that kind of thing that are creating a lot of turmoil. And I think I like what my friend Paul said in one of the conferences in pharma. You will have this booking.com effect. At some point, consumers or patients will have a reluctance to just download 20,000 apps. They want to have like the aggregator. And I think this is where the industry is going to stabilize. In fintech, it has been a little bit different. We have this more structured and leveled, territory. I think from the startup I know, at least the one that we follow, everything that has been pushing, I would not say the crypto fever helped, but it's true that a lot of people in the world still don't have the same banking possibilities and having remittances, being able to send money to anyone in the world, and being able to have a credit card that is functioning outside of remote work. That kind of thing is quite interesting. So I would say the startup I see has traction because it has a super relevance to clear business cases, and it is kind of offering an out of the box solution to many business cases. Like you want to send money from A to Z, you need to have an access up. They have the licenses, they have the infrastructure. So what I see is that the companies that are really making a difference are the ones that have the maturity to be product ready and to capture market share that way. So everything that is still in the pipeline of creating mega apps, digital wallets that are like doing everything and looking really to serve coffee and do a lot of things. I think it's great that to have the ambition, but I would say in fintech, what I understand is clear, simple business cases gets you traction. The too big of a holistic view gets you less to somewhere tangible. Well, in pharma, it's kind of the opposite. If you are too niched and too focused, you kind of lose the potential of being that relevant therapeutic area platform that can serve payers, pharma industries, the consumers, the clinical practice. So fintech for me is where I will push for the niche. And climate tech is something interesting. So I'm very eager to see more and more climate tech projects. So this is a call for everyone who has a climate tech project. I'm now interested a lot in everything related to data centers for the simple reason that this is a topic that is connected to GenAI, machine learning, and the ESG footprint of companies. So a lot of companies are starting to realize that the boardroom is waking up, saying, "Oh, okay, ESG is a topic for sure, but what if we are counterintuitively investing in something that is really like exploding our footprint in terms of the what can I say? The footprint of your data or your algorithm, when you use AI today. I feel it's more of an energy discussion more than a tech conversation. And I think the data center industry looking to optimize their footprint, optimize the way data is shared, optimize and reducing their consumptions of energy. I think this is a good thing. More using green energy. And Switzerland is actually one of the good country on this, right? There is a couple of countries where energy is produced fairly greenly, and I think this is where I see a match between where we want to go and the companies we support on one hand, and the startups that are also investing heavily in this. So yeah, if you have any ideas or if you have like a network around climate tech, especially in the data center area, that's something I'm interested to explore. From the other industry, I have to say, so I was discussing about cannabis in the US. So it's interesting to see cannabis brands from recreational to medical really popping up in the US since the announcement 2 or 3 weeks ago of the tier 3 labeling of cannabis. So a lot of companies in pharma are also looking, or even nutrition are looking into the cannabinoids effects of that molecule inside body. So there is, some studies that can comfort some findings. And this is interesting to be in that market, especially that the German market has opened, and I would believe that the European market will follow. So if you have some technologies that are like helping make this a compliant and safe way to consume those products in a compliant manner, right, following the law and supporting businesses to do the right thing, yeah, please do reach out. Right now, we do have a footprint in the US that can help us understand this industry better. So if you also are looking to invest in that side of your portfolio, you can also reach out to us. So yeah, so looking at the time, I don't have much to share today, except that I'm looking forward to this conference tomorrow, especially that a lot of people don't really know how to pitch generative AI companies to classical VCs, and they usually try to search for Gen AI VCs, and people are really into that. And there is, I guess, a pure player type of VC who wants to do like blockchain. We heard blockchain VC, fintech VCs, digital health VCs being a thing a few years ago. Why, from our perspective, I think we could be relevant in that conversation is because we believe AI is going to be regulated more than people think in terms of what needs to be processed and what would be the income outcome type of decisions that an AI could produce. I think the regulation is going to hit quite strongly different businesses. I don't know how it looks like, but I'm sure it's going to be regulated way more than what we had before as a new emerging technology. On that note, if you have any other topic that you want us to tackle, please comment in the section below. I'm going to keep those office hours running and invite some friends and colleagues, to bring their voice to the table. Last week, as I said, we had Tatiana that was interestingly giving us this view on her femtech accelerator, and we were basically chatting about the limits and the opportunities of the femtech ecosystem. And I think it's great to have more ecosystem that are niche and that can answer the unmet needs and really tackle those unmet needs that the industry couldn't do a few years back. Yeah. So without further ado, we'll disconnect now. And yeah, if you have any questions regarding, again, the first topic, which was internship and jobs in the industry, you can reach out to us. We'll be happy to give you a hand of understanding this better. Take care, stay safe outside, and speak to you soon.